is that we have a really hard time just being in kind of a gray area where we don't know all the answers. We want all the answers. And even 20 years later of Katrina dying, there are still things that we're like, I don't fully understand this.
Right.
I don't get it. And honestly, I don't know that I ever will.
Welcome to the Everyday Faith Podcast, where we believe you can live out your faith every day by starting with belief, embracing your mission, committing to obedience, and pursuing community. I'm Dan.
And I'm Jess. We are so glad you're here with us as we continue our conversation with Kendra Roehl and Julie Fisk from One Story Well Collective. Their efforts help women live and tell their stories through God's lens. And it fits right within our heartbeat at the Everyday Faith Podcast to start with belief and live from our identity in Him. They're all about living in community and on mission. So I tell you, they're really living out their everyday faith and encouraging others to do the same. So Julie and Kendra, let's have some more fun.
Sounds good.
Yes.
All right. I say, let's have some more fun. And then I'm going to ask you kind of like a hard question. Kendra.
Had transition.
Wow. Kendra, you shifted, I don't know how many years ago, you'll have to tell us as part of your story, into working as a social worker for a hospice program. And it sounds like that was probably a little bit of a challenge, a big shift, something that you were like, okay, God, I'll do it. But tell us about that time of life.
Yeah. So that was my first job. I graduated college at 21.
Okay.
And the job I could find in my area as a social worker was with a hospice program. So I was the youngest person in the office, working with a lot of families with, elderly people, but not just that, families who were in middle age and things that know what hospice is. It's people who a doctor has said, has about 6 months or less to live, and they want to live well for those last months. And it's a beautiful program because it allows people to stay within their homes or whatever environment most feels comfortable for them and brings care right to them. So it actually can be a very beautiful time in people's lives, along with being a very, heartbreaking time as well. And so at 21, to have not experienced a lot of death or dying yet in my life.
Wow. Yeah.
Walking into that space, I had to literally pray every day for God to be with me. I was so scared about just being able to be what it was that I needed to be to do that job well. And but I think what came out of that was really good. And I had a nurse who I worked with there out of that office who was probably about my mom's age. And she kind of took me under her wing, and she said something to me once. She said, I know this is really hard, but this is going to be one of the best. When you get older, when you look back on your life, this is going to be one of those times where you are going to be grateful for the growth that you had here. So acknowledging and recognizing how scary it was. And I feel that way. And I think that is where I first grasped onto, and we say this a lot when we talk about with our kids or teaching or anything, to just do it afraid. To just do it afraid. I don't have to get over my fear to walk into whatever it is that God brings to me. He meets me in that space. And I will say, I was not the best social worker that program has ever had. So it's not like God says, I'm going to be with you, and then you're going to be the best at something. That's not the point, right? But it's that He is with us. He does help us through that. And just do it afraid. We don't have to wait for that fear to leave.
And usually you have to take that first step.
Yeah.
And then, that's what I have recognized over time when I'm faced with a big thing. It's the first step that's kind of a doozy. And He's with us, but He requires a step of faith forward. There's some kind of a forward movement.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
He does ask. He does ask us to give up some things sometimes.
Yeah.
And comfort, right? Or confidence, maybe. Not, I don't mean like confidence that we get from him, right? Because oftentimes it's picking up confidence that he gives us, but laying down the need for a sense of confidence internally, or that comes from within, right?
Right.
And instead picking up the confidence that there is just walking with him and knowing that, okay, God, you're asking me to do this, so I know I'll make it, but I do need you.
Wasn't it funny too how much he cares about identity, right? That's what you're talking about, like laying down the identity. Like if you were the best social worker, right, that would kind of be like the identity of like the Lord made me the best. And you're like, well, who are we talking about here, right?
Exactly.
So that's a really cool story.
Julie, what about you? I mean, uncomfortable times in life, I'm sure you've had plenty, but are there any that come to mind for you, a time you've had to just rely on the Lord?
Ooh, yes, several.
Which one?
Which one should I? How vulnerable should I?
Do you want to cry or not?
You know what's so sad is like people that are amazing like you guys, we like know you have stories because you're so amazing. You couldn't have not gone through some junk in life.
So we just blindside you with good big questions.
So, yes. Okay, we'll go there. We'll tell the hard one.
Okay.
So Kendra and I met in a Bible study. I was friends with her big sister, Katrina. So I'm a little bit older than Kendra and Kristen. I showed up in a church as a newlywed in a brand new town. And my husband immediately got scooped up to be on the worship team because he's a drummer, and drummers are precious. Precious as gold. Everybody loves a drummer, and they're hard to come by. And so he got scooped up immediately. And so I was the like proverbial girl sitting in the pew by herself. And this beautiful, outgoing woman named Katrina came up and said, "Hey, come sit by me. My name's Katrina." And I was like, "Okay." And then she's like, "Come to my Bible study." And I was like, "Okay." And so Katrina collected people, and I was one of the people she collected, thank God. And so and that's how I met Kendra and Kristen eventually, is
Fun.
Katrina. Like she pulled together a little Bible study, and we would meet once a week for years. And so she had cancer. She had an aggressive form of breast cancer, and we just all knew that she was going to get healed and that this was going to be fine. And she was so charismatic, and God was going to use her testimony. And this was back in the time before Facebook. So she would send emails, and literally her emails would go across the world. Like people would read her emails about what she was doing. And then she died. And 2 little kids. And we were 28. I was 28. She was 28. She and I were 28.
Wow.
And I was so angry.
Right.
Not at all. And so many people had prayed.
Yeah.
And so there was this deep wrestling of faith. Because I had this great plan, and like we'd all talked about, we were going to go on Oprah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Back when Oprah was still on.
Oprah was a big deal.
Thank you for engaging us.
Well, I talked about email and no Facebook, so like we're already there.
We're there.
We did have a plan, and we knew how God was going to answer that story, and we did all the things, right? All the prayers, all the everything, and then He didn't do it that way. And there literally came a pivotal moment. I had a decision to make, and I was either going to walk away from God, or I was going to double down, and stick with Him. And so he and I had a pretty brutal. Again, I'm a lawyer. I can argue with people, and so he and I had a pretty frank conversation. And I'm just going to tell you, God is not afraid of. He is not afraid of hard conversations with us. He's not.
And that wrestling.
And so I told him, and I still tell him sometimes, I said, I don't like this, but I want to be able to talk about her.
Yeah.
And that has been a prayer He's answered. Life is complicated. Life is complicated. People are complicated. It doesn't always go to plan. But he has used her legacy in really powerful ways. He's used her story in powerful ways.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just would say it's okay to be mad at God and it's okay to
Yeah.
wrestle with him, but like choose him
Yeah.
and ask him to bring, like, I have now started praying instead of for full healing. I mean, I pray for healing. I'm not afraid of audacious prayers.
Yeah.
I pray for full healing, but I've started praying, use this situation for your glory.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I don't always get, I don't know this side of heaven why some things happen. But I want his glory to come out of everything, good and bad. And so I feel like that's the prayer that I can pray and know that he's going to answer it in ways that I want. And the other stuff I hold a little bit more loosely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. It's such a hard thing because we don't have all the answers, right? We don't know why. And we do know that although there's a funeral on earth, right, there's a celebration in heaven.
Right.
And that's something that we can hold on to. But it's hard when there's like, well, why did this happen? You're like, I don't know.
Right.
It's so beautiful too that you can see the impact that you were touched so much by the way that she took you under her wing, that I'm sure you've done that for other young women, in your church. When you see someone sitting alone, you remember how good it felt to have someone meet you where you were at, rather than you having to muster up the courage to wander over in a new church and say hello to someone,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think that was one of the first times that we saw that modeled, of like welcoming people in who, weren't necessarily just a part of your circle.
Right.
And I remember, because I was living with Katrina at that time, she went through about 5 years of treatment. Things would get better and then they'd get worse again. And she said, I have a lot of acquaintances, but I don't have a lot of friends. And so she was very intentional, like Julie said, to reach out and to bring this group of women together who did not really, any of us, know each other. And to come together every week where we would pray and we would go through a book together, a study, or some kind of, biblical teaching. And just not only did that help us ground us in our belief, but then also that was sort of the role model that we now are like, why wouldn't you welcome everybody in? Because that's what God does to us, right? He welcomes us in. And if you've been welcomed in, then you should welcome. So,
And we've lost the art of that.
yeah.
So it's interesting, like when we do welcome people in, how eager people are to be welcomed,
Oh, yes.
included.
Yes.
So it feels, it sometimes feels like a little scary, but generally speaking, there's such relief on the other side of that because people are so lonely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that you had said, Julie, while you were kind of sharing the story about Katrina, and at the end, it was like you were mad. You didn't understand. You were confused, and that it's okay to bring your anger to the Lord. And recently, Dan and I sat down with a friend of ours, and we realized that this friend and I both had some grief stuff that we had to set aside some time to just address some of that grief that we were walking through. And we prayed out loud and just, bringing our questions to God, and whatever it was that was on our mind, we're like, look, bring it all. Because if you have anger, if you have confusion, if you're feeling a little bitter about it, and that's just hiding underneath, and you're just not making space for it, it's what's in the dark is going to grow and grow and grow and grow until we bring it to the light, and we can actually bring it to God. And what do you know? He will heal it eventually. Maybe he speaks directly to you. Maybe he uses someone in your life to speak into that area. Another thing that we did was we wrote letters. We just wrote a letter, to the person that we were grieving and missing, and that we hadn't made space to, have those hard emotions. So we wrote letters to that person, and that's a place where you could bring, like, you know what, I'm frustrated that you're gone.
Yeah.
It's not fair. And and it's okay to direct some of those questions to God, and he can handle it. He can handle it.
Yeah.
He really can. As much as your spouse or your friend can handle it, God can definitely handle your hard questions, hard emotions.
Well, and I think it's like run after it, right? If it's like I feel this a little bit, it's like I don't want to keep feeling this, so like let's run after this immediately and talk to God now, because like you said, what you bring into the light, I really do believe that's how you heal, not keeping stuff in the darkness.
Yeah.
So Julie, you were mad. How did you process that? How did you get over that? Clearly, you're not that anymore. So
Sometimes I am.
fair. So what is that journey for you?
Yeah.
Like if someone's in a situation,
Right.
and there's lots of situations where they're mad at God or the world or something's unfair.
I think it's being honest about it. I think it's being honest and telling God about it. I have started and this is where that whole somehow make this right, or somehow redeem this, or somehow bring glory through this, is really helpful. So and there are situations in life that are terribly unfair and are wrong. They're just wrong. And I've taken those to God, and I have. So I think first is just being really honest in your emotions. Don't stuff it. Don't hide it. He knows it anyway. So let me come. And if you need to cry, I did accidentally shout at him once, and I waited for the thunderbolt, and guess what? It didn't come. So I think he can even handle being shouted at every once in a while. I don't make a habit of it, but I just one day, I was a very young mom, and I was very tired, and I was in a minivan, and I shouted at him. So being honest in those hard emotions with him, and then I say, Lord, this is not okay. And sometimes I'm a little audacious. Sometimes I tell him exactly what I want. Sometimes I feel like that could get me thunderbolted too, but it never has happened. Sometimes I just am very much this needs to, I need to see something good come out of this. I need to see something redemptive come out of this. I need to see your glory come out of this. I need to see something happen out of this. And I pester him about it.
Right. Well, and then it's also, I think, wrestling with God yourself, and then having community, like you were saying, meeting with a friend, having people around you who you can have honest conversation with too, to say, I'm really struggling. Can you pray with me about this? Because there is something about having another person witness that is healing just in and of itself, and them seeing it for what it is.
Right.
That's really, really powerful. And I think that's how God wired us too, right? He wired us for community, relationship with him, and relationship with others. That's where we're going to find healing.
And
from
somebody
things.
who will always turn you back towards God, because that's the other thing. When we are, because there are times, and I will always nudge Kendra back towards God, and she always nudges me back towards God. So there's not but it's also I'll sit in lament with you. Yeah. I'll literally sit here with you, and I'll cry alongside you, and we can just be quiet. And so there's not a diminishing of whatever it is we're feeling in that moment. I'm not going to try to tell you can't be whatever it is you're feeling in this moment, and we're just going to do it.
And the other thing I would want to add to someone who's really going through something challenging, or they don't understand it, or grief, or whatever it is that we have a really hard time just being in kind of a gray area where we don't know all the answers. We want all the answers. And even 20 years later of Katrina dying, there are still things that we're I don't fully understand this.
Right.
I don't get it. And honestly, I don't know that I ever will. And so when we have to allow ourselves to live in a space of unknown, what do I know? And that's when I go back to, what do I know about God? Right. What do I know about his character and who he is? I know that God is good. I know that he loves me. I know that he is kind. I know that he's you just have to start going down the list, because I just don't believe that in life we can it's not black and white always. There's often this space of unknown, and sometimes it's just what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, we're complicated people, and the way we bump into each other in our complicated, messy, messy lives causes harm.
Yeah.
And so then, like, how do we manage the harm that has been caused?
Right.
Without causing harm ourselves? That's all just real, and it's tricky.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's space for just letting it live. It's real and it's tricky, and I'm so sorry.
Well, on that, a big way that it helps us process and heal is through community, right?
Yes.
Like where two or three are gathered is real.
Yeah.
And you guys have been in community together for quite some time, even though you're very young. It's been quite some time. So how have you guys stayed in relationship, even though hurt people? And I'm sure Julie said something that's offensive and Kendra said something that's mean, right? Whatever it is. How do you guys stay in community and stay together and work together?
Well, yes. We apologize. We do. And even.
And we forgive each other.
And we forgive each other. And if we're feeling, I remember years ago, there was something that you were kind of feeling vulnerable about. And she just came to Kristen and I and was like, look, I'm feeling this way. And it was valid and real, but it was unintentional on our side.
Right.
And so it was one of those things where you have to be in community with people that you feel safe. We talk about that a lot. Like, there are people that we try to, gather with or be a part of their lives, but they're not necessarily our inner circle if they're not safe enough for me to be honest about how I'm feeling, or maybe something, that hurt me or whatever. And so I think that's the thing that Kristen and Julie and I have found, is that we are safe people for one another. And so I don't feel worried that if I have to go to Julie, and sometimes we even had it off. We were going to a speaking event one time, and I had I don't know, was in a bad mood and had been short with her. And we got in the car and I was like, I'm sorry I acted that way. So it's also like seeing yourself and being willing to go first. You've messed up and not waiting for that person to come to you.
And I think sometimes we think of friendship as like this easy peasy thing that just happens. Friendship is like marriage. We're in close relationship, and you're gonna, if you're good enough friends, you're gonna be in a disagreement, and I'm gonna do something that accidentally hurts you. Like because I just am kind of oblivious sometimes, and I'm like, oh. And then if I don't have the ability to come back and be like, wow, I am so sorry. Or if I don't have the ability to be like, that actually hurt my feelings. We have to. So work at your friendships.
And if you think your friendship's really easy, I would want to ask your friend that you're talking about what they think about it.
Right.
They're probably compromising a lot.
They might be.
Yeah, I have my best friend, and I just chose, like, this is going to be my best friend. And you know what? He's late, and it makes me livid sometimes. But I know that, and I love him regardless. And you know what? He's gotten way better at it, and I'm grateful. But it was such a good lesson for me 5+ years ago, just to be like, you know what? I'm going to love him anyways, because he's not doing it because he thinks I'm, evil and doesn't like me, right?
Right.
It's just an area of growth for him.
Yeah.
Well,
So, yeah.
and complicated creatures. I mean, what we're really good at, and there's usually something that we're slightly annoying at.
Well, and we tend to be like opposites attract, right? That's not just marriage, it's friendship too.
It is.
Yeah.
And so, like, why are we always drawn to like someone that can frustrate us so easily?
Because they fill in our gaps.
Exactly.
Every good friend's just a little bit annoying. No.
Yes.
It's funny.
I know I am, so it's fair.
The topic of humility versus pride kind of came to my mind there, and the idea that like it takes humility to apologize. It also takes humility to forgive, right? I mean, to not be so stuck on I'm right, you're wrong.
Right.
It's that you can't forgive, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things that separates us from God is when we put our own thoughts and perspectives and our own rights, right, ahead of how God sees that person. And like our mentors, they said that God's not just my father, he's my father-in-law. And so like he's my father, but he's also his father.
100%.
And so I need to treat my husband that way, that he's a child of God, just as I am. God loves him just as much, at least as much as he loves me.
That's
right.
One of the things we say to each other is, God, the person you want to hate is beloved by God.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know.
Just pause and think of that person. Yeah.
Right. They're beloved.
And lost, right? Most likely, if you don't like them. Maybe, probably. Anyways, what a great opportunity to pray. Right? Whenever I get frustrated, I'm like, all right, Lord, what are you showing me that apparently only I can see?
Right.
That I need to pray for.
Yeah.
One of the things that you shared, Kendra, is that you had written a paper once upon a time. It's probably a couple years ago. You'd written a paper about Christianity, and give us the prompt, give us the whole situation. Because as I'm thinking about, like, okay, someone you might not like, there was another person who you maybe just kind of felt a little bit of tension there with, just because he was different than you.
Yeah. So I was in college, and I don't even remember what class it was for. It must have been for one of my English classes, and they asked us to write on something that we believed in very strongly. So I felt like I had to write, obviously, on my faith. And we had to say in class what our topics were going to be, and we had kind of discussions going on. And there was a man who was a non-traditional student, so he was older, who came out very strongly saying that he was an atheist, not in a combative way, but just kind of in a conversational way. And then he looked at me and he said, could I read your paper when you write it?
Ooh.
And I was like, yes.
Oh man, no pressure.
And then I went back to my dorm room and I was like, okay, Lord, like there's so many different ways you could write that.
Yes.
So I just said, Lord, this man's going to read my paper. I don't know who he is. I don't know his history. I don't know anything about him. So give me give me what you want in this paper for him to read. At that point, I didn't even necessarily care about the grade. So I write this paper, believing whatever, like what God asked me to write in that paper, I just put in it. And when we turned in our papers after class, I had printed an extra copy and I gave it to him, and he read it in front of me, and he said, after he read it, he goes, "Did you write this for me?" And I thought, how would I have known? I don't know you, but I just said to him, I said, I really just wrote what I felt like God asked me to write. And, I hope that it's something that would encourage you in your life, basically, or something like that. And then he said, "Can I keep it?" And I said, yeah. He kept my paper, and I never saw him again. I don't know the rest of his story, but I think for me first it was a time to really kind of step into what do I believe. Yeah. But then trusting God that like you're saying, God loves that man as much as he loves me. He's pursuing that person as much as he pursues me. So sometimes we think we have to be like the deciding moment in somebody's life that they go, yes, I'm following God. But sometimes we're just like that seed that gets planted. And I have thought about him since then and been like, Lord, plant other seeds in his life, along the way. I was just one in hopefully a small chain of other people planting seeds and God continuing to pursue him. So being willing to be obedient in even those smaller moments of just being a little seed in somebody's life, and being willing to just to allow that to grow. So
that's good.
I love how God uses things not just for one purpose. Right? Like you got to strengthen your faith. Who knows what happened with the professor, right? And then this other student who's an atheist. Like, it's so cool. And now you're telling us. You know what I mean? There's so many things he uses it for. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. Yeah. Well, as we unfortunately wrap up part 2, can you believe this? Time's gone by fast. Kendra, you're going to have some homework for us so that we can do.
A nudge.
Before we do that, I'd like to know if I wanted to find more information about you guys or your books. Julie, would you mind just telling us how we could find that? What would be best?
Yeah. So, One Story Well Collective, we're on Instagram and Facebook primarily. And so you can connect with us there. Our books are sold everywhere books are sold. So Barnes & Noble carries them. You can go online anywhere and find them. Amazon, everybody buys books at Amazon nowadays. So you can check them out. We write devotionals primarily. We write on kindness, gratitude, friendship. And then we just did, last year we did a Advent devotional, and this year we've got a Lent devotional.
wow.
Sacred and Still coming up.
Is your website a good place to go and look for those titles?
100%. 100%. Yes, thank you. I didn't even think about our website.
Perfect.
We'll link that in the bio below.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, Kendra, what homework can we be doing?
Okay, so based on our conversation we just had, I'm going to give you a couple different ideas depending on where people are at. The first is if you are in a hard spot and you have been avoiding conversation, whether that's with God or maybe with somebody else, that you would bring whatever that hard thing is to God. And to, like Julie said, be willing to, God can handle it. So just allowing yourself to have that with God, and then maybe bringing somebody trusted into that conversation as well, that that's going to point you, that's going to sit with you, that's going to lament with you, that will point you to God. So if that's you. The other thing I would say is if you are in a different spot where you are encouraged to go out, ask God, who can I welcome into my circle today? Who can I befriend? Whether that's someone at church, whether that's someone on your kids, sports team, that's another parent on the sideline, wherever it is that you find yourself, whether it's at work, asking God, who can I bring in? Who needs some encouragement? Who can I bring in to my circle today? Those seem like such small things, but they can have a huge impact, not only on your life, but on other people's lives as well.
That's
Well,
great.
thank you both. This has been amazing. We really appreciate your time and excited to read some more of your books.
Yes. Thanks, Kendra. Thanks, Julie.
So nice to talk to you guys.
Thank you for listening to this conversation from the Everyday Faith Podcast. Our goal is to inspire everyday faith conversations. Please join us by rating and reviewing wherever you're listening, and most importantly, by sharing with a friend. For more resources like this, visit our website, askaboutmyfaith.com. God bless you as you live out your faith in your everyday rhythms of life.